up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium. If you like what you see, always hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit that notification button at the top to find out what's coming next, and of course, comment below on any videos you watch on my channel. So I hope you've enjoyed my Best of the Year 2019 video. I know a lot of people probably disagree with my order and not putting Avengers Endgame in my top 10, but you know, it is what it is. This is a video I know everybody loves to death. It's the worst of, worst of whatever year. Of course, it's worst of 2019. I'm not the biggest fan of doing this video, but because I don't like ragging on movies, but it's a fun video to do. A lot of people like it, so you know what, I'm gonna do it. There's only 2 honorable mentions this time because this year was actually pretty great for what it's worth. But with that said, those honorable mentions are the Goldfinch and Brightburn, which were in my top 10 at one point, but other films came out. So congratulations, Goldfinch and Brightburn. You are no longer in the top 10 worst, but you're still pretty bad. So, but with that said, let's go ahead and head into number 10, which is. So Neil Jordan directed The Crying Game, which is actually great film. It has a great twist to it. It has a great, all around cool thing to it. He directed Greta, which had Chloe Grace Moretz, Isabelle Huppert in it. This movie's weird. It's not very good. It has some really over-the-top stuff going on in this movie. Isabelle Huppert is just in a different movie than Chloe Grace Moretz, but this movie's tone and its deftness and its feel and where it goes is just completely uncomfortable and just unnecessary. And the movie's just not very good either. It just does some weird things. It's like I said, Isabelle Huppert's character is just, I don't know what's going on. And then Chloe Grace Moretz she's much better for as an actress than what she is doing in here. But yeah, this movie is just not good. It's not fun. It's not entertaining. And to me, it's one of the worst movies of the year. So there you go. At number 10, we have Greta. Number 9, we have. So Serenity was actually in my most anticipated movies. I love the trailer for it. I like Matthew McConaughey and Hayes. They're fantastic actors and actresses. I don't know what happened with this movie. This movie is directed by Stephen Knight, who actually did stuff like Locke and All the Pretty Things and Easter Promises and Peaky Blinders. And this movie is just weird. There's a domestic abusive situation. There's video game stuff going on in this movie. And it's not at all what I was expecting. And it was made worse for every decision that was made in this movie. And there's probably a reason why it was released in January and pushed back like it was. But I had hope for it. And I came out of this movie just more disgusted when I washed my hands after it. So it's not a very good movie. Not very good performances by Matthew McConaughey and Anne Heche, who are trying, and Jason Clark's in this movie. And it's not a very good movie. So, and unfortunately made my top 10 worst of the year, which is kind of disappointing. So at number 9 is Serenity. And at number 8, we have... So talk about going out on a whimper. X-Men Apocalypse had already done that, but then we kind of put salt on the wound and come out with Dark Phoenix. Listen, I don't hate Simon Kinberg. He did Rebels. He did a bunch of good stuff with with the X-Men franchise as well as Star Wars. But this movie's not good. It's weird. The characters are off. Mystique. Jennifer Lawrence's character dies just needlessly, and it brings in Jessica Chastain, but it brings in once again Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult. It brings a bunch of characters I really don't care about anymore, and it kind of just ruined the franchise. I mean, leave it alone after X-Men Apocalypse and Logan, but this was a cash grab, and this is a movie that kept getting pushed back because of the bad buzz and bad things and that was talked about in this movie. And on top of that, you're ruining the Dark Phoenix saga again for the second time. And this movie is it's weird, it's disgusting, and it makes me really upset for a franchise I consider the linchpin for what the superhero movie is today. So yeah, Dark Phoenix is not a good movie, and it is definitely one of the worst of the year. So at number 8 is Dark Phoenix, and at number 7 we have... So I really don't care who directed this movie, but this is Marlon Wayne's blank check movie, and it's Sextuplets. This is the 3rd movie in the Netflix catalog that is on this list. This movie is offensive. This movie is disgusting. This movie makes no sense. It's trying to be the Nutty Professor, but more raunchy. And Marlon Wayans, who I love to death, I think is funny as hell, is awful in this movie. The different characters he's playing are just gross stereotypes, and this movie is just not funny. There's nothing funny about it. It's just Marlon Wayans is trying to do funny for funny's sake, and it's so off of what it's trying to do that it doesn't feel like a good movie. And it's one of those movies where I question, where is the control in Netflix And when you see with like the Irishman, they're giving people blank check movies, and this is what the kind of product you're gonna get with these blank check movies. There's no constraint. And Sextuplets is the prime example, or at least one of the prime examples of this problem. So at number 7 is Sextuplets. And at number 6 we have. So I said it in my Cats review, this is not a good year for Ian McKellen. This movie, The Good Liar, had a promising 2/3 to it. It's directed by Bill Condon. It has Helen Mirren and it has Ian McKellen. But then the last third of this movie happens in that reveal, and I don't want to talk about it because I hate talking about it. It's disgusting. It completely ruins the movie and just makes it an awful experience. I was really into this movie when it was dealing with like the cons and how Ian McKellen's just a slime ball of a character, and then we started learning about Helen Mirren's past, and it angered me because I was really into it, and I had to put it on my worst of the year because it's just an awful way to represent a movie. And I don't care if it's based off a book. There's better ways to kind of reveal this stuff, and maybe just not maybe do it something different, maybe kind of give it a different edge to it. But when you're doing the kind of stuff that this movie ends up doing, I can't be on board with it. It's kind of manipulative in a lot of ways. So number 6 is the Good Liar, and it's such a shame it's on my list, but it's terrible. So, but at number 5 we have. So I said at number 6, Ian McKellen's not having a good year. I just saw this movie. I just literally just talked about it. Cats, directed by Tom Hooper, has a great cast in it. This movie's just weird and disturbing. I don't know what they were thinking. The visual effects on the cats are awful. The plot, the fact there's no plot. I know it's part of the play and musical, but come on, when you're writing something like this, when you have a writer, why don't you add some story to it? Give it a little bit more meat to the bone, because some of the music in here is actually quite good, but when you have like meaningless points and you're just like introducing characters that disappear, and then you have Idris Elba as the villain, which is awesome, and you kind of meander his whole story arc, it's just not a very good movie. It just when you have to base it off the songs alone, and when you're kind of basing off material kind of like Phantom of the Opera and Jesus Christ Superstar, which actually had plots and kind of moving structure to it, I just don't feel like I feel like this was such a missed opportunity in the budget Tom Hooper got. And I'm starting to worry about Tom Hooper's directorial career, because I like Les Miserables a lot. I definitely like King's Speech a lot, but it just seems like he wasn't able to handle the weight of this material as the fourth longest running Broadway play. So yeah, it's a terrible movie with terrible acting, terrible direction, and it's just an awful movie. So at number 5, unfortunately, is Cats. And at number 4 we have. So in the beginning of this year, I saw Replicas, and Replicas I actually really enjoyed the first time I saw it. It's stupid, it's cheesy. I was like, whatever. I like Keanu. Thomas Middleditch is in this. It's fine. But then I watched it again, and yeah, this movie's not good. It's trying to be something that just doesn't work. The whole idea that his family has been killed and he replicates them, and just see how that plays out. The fact that they use like the 6-day material, and it's like a haphazard with trying to kind of convey a message about replication and keeping people alive who are dead. And it just completely falls flat. This is in the same vein as like Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves. It's not good. It's actually quite awful, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's such a shame because Keanu Reeves is in that great Keanu songs right now. So it's unfortunate, but it is a January movie. So anyways, number 4 is Replicas, and number 3 we have. I know a lot of people like this movie. It's fine. It's one of the Stephen King movies adaptations, at least, I hate. It's In the Tall Grass. This is the second of 3 movies from Netflix. This isn't a constraint movie because it's very low budget, and you can tell. I just don't like the direction of this movie. I don't like what Patrick Wilson was doing. I don't like anything about it. I think it had a cool setup with like the fact that these people go into this cornfield, and then time just kind of becomes manipulative. But it gets confusing. It gets plotting. It becomes over the top, and it's shows you sometimes some of the worst parts about what Stephen King does in his material. And I love Stephen King to death. I love everything about it. Doctor Sleep was one of my favorite movies this year, but I just don't think this movie works. It's in that vein of just like horrible horror films that just I'll never watch again. And it's such a shame because it's an interesting concept, like Children of the Corn or something like that. But for a supernatural tale, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was good, and that's why it's in my worst of the list. So number 3 is In the Tall Grass, and at number 2 we have. So how do you get an animated movie, get a gigantic cast, and squander that? You do Wonder Park. This movie has the moments of your parent is sick and she's inventing this whole Wonder Park basically. I mean, it's in her imagination. And that's a cool setup, but it's been done a million times before, and you can tell this was cheaply done. The director got taken off the project for reasons, and it's just not a very good movie. It's actually quite awful. It's the characters in this movie, the actors and actresses that are playing the different animals. Young girl, nothing fits. It kind of goes wonky all over the places. The structure, the editing, everything about it it doesn't work, and it just feels like a haphazard attempt to create something wholly unique from, I think this is from Nickelodeon or something like that. But you start to see problems, and you can start to see why DreamWorks or Pixar or any of these production companies like are really above the whole, because these are like dumpster fire movies that just get put out. You see animated movies, especially low budget, all the time, and it's just why these movies keep getting through. I know it's all about making money, but this movie bombed as well, and it's just Wonder Park is not good. I never recommended it, and there's better animated films. So at number 2 is Wonder Park. Terrible. And that finally reaches to number 1, which, if you know me, you know how angry I got with this movie, you know what it is. So at number 1 we have. Directed by Mick G, written by Zach Stentz, and about a group of kids who are running through the apocalypse. Rim of the World completely I was actually kind of looking forward to, because I do kind of like Mick G in his direction. He's not the greatest director in the world, but he has moments. This movie is just pure awfulness. This movie should have never been made. This is at the point where I just question what Netflix was even doing. Thank God we had like Irishman and Marriage Story and The Two Popes coming out. But this movie it feels like a scrabbled together mess that doesn't make any sense. It has so many issues, so many problems. The characters and the kids are awful. The point where they get to their eventual conclusion is awful. Everything just doesn't. It feels like a sad attempt to ape off a kids movie like The Goonies, and then the kids are just using non-consonant language. And I know these 80s kids movies did that, but it just. I was so befuddled watching this movie. I was, watching them going, am I just seeing something that not a lot of people are seeing? I got a lot of crap for this movie for hating it as much as I did, but this movie is it's literally one of the worst movies of the year. It actually is the worst movie of the year to me. It's not as bad as Slender Man, because that is the worst movie of the decade, but yeah, Rim of the World is not good. It's such a shame, because I've seen the director and the writer like defend this movie, which is awesome, but I can't get behind this movie. I just really can't. I just feel like screaming every time I talk about this movie because it's so awful. So yeah, the worst movie of the year to me personally, Rim of the World. So anyways, that is going to do it for my top 10 worst of the year. It makes me a little disheartened when I talk about top 10. I'm going to be honest. Like, you can see my face kind of draining away, but it is what it is. It's a fun list to do because, you can talk about movies that are just awful and people can avoid them, and you can have a good time. And I'm really interested, like I said, when I go to my comments, but tell me what what you think is the worst movie of the year. I'd be interested to know. But there you go. That is the top 10 worst of the year from Movie Emporium. So if you like what you see, of course, like I said, comment below. Let me know your worst movie of the year. As always, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.